never to be mistaken.
In Los Angeles, Mark, what's the latest?
Well, Bobby, aside from a few visits from friends today, it's been fairly quiet and activity outside the Simpson household has been fairly minimal. He's been secluded here since Monday when he returned from an interrogation from the Los Angeles Police Department. Police will continue to investigate the of Simpson's ex-wife, Nicole Simpson, and her friend, 25-year-old Ronald Goldman. Meanwhile, the wait and watch outside the Simpson household continues.
Mark, you've been following the story all day long. Would you say that police are any closer right now to having a suspect or suspects in this case?
I can tell you one thing. Although O.J. Simpson has not been arrested or charged with any wrongdoing, he does appear to be the main focus of this entire investigation.
For those that are not into reading, I will present you with the clues you may have missed regarding the O.J. Simpson. But if you feel the need to hold on to the mainstream story, feel free to keep it. I no longer have any use for it. Instead of looking at this event through the eyes of the controlled media, here we will be questioning it all. We will start at the very beginning. Orenthal James Simpson was born in 1947. What else was born in 1947? That's right, the CIA. This early in the investigation, you will no doubt dismiss that as a coincidence. Later, you won't. After his famous career as a football running back, Simpson went to Hollywood to become an actor. Who runs Hollywood? That's right, our old friend the CIA. In 1993, Simpson had a supporting role in a movie called CIA, codename Alexa.
Alexa, surname unknown. Specialize in combat.
She's government property.
Sure, by now you know this is a government facility.
What I know is that you got that Rambo bitch here. So I want to see her, and I want to see her now.
Oh, you're not in any position to make demands, Detective.
Oh, yeah, so what are you going to do? Kill me?
That can be arranged.
Just another coincidence. Not really. And neither is the word Alexa. A web search on Alexa tells you the name means defender of man, or that the computer company Alexa founded in 1996 based the name on the Library of Alexandria. Both are misdirections. The right answer is that the CIA has long liked and used the name Alexa, and that the computer company of that name is a CIA front. Remember, the web was originally created by intelligence as a tool of intelligence, both to collect data and to disseminate it. Alexa is now used as the basis for web searches as well as for the Wayback Machine, which has stored terabytes of information. But the reason intelligence likes the word is easy to see, if you write it like this. Lex means law in Latin, and intelligence sees itself as a law unto itself.
Alexa, do you work for the CIA?
No, I'm not employed by them. I'm made by Amazon.
Alexa, does the CIA get information from Amazon?
I'm not sure what you meant by that question.
Alexa, can the CIA get information from Amazon? Alexa, can the CIA get information from Amazon?
So once again, Lex means law in Latin, and intelligence sees itself as a law unto itself. It does whatever it wants, including faking and faking trials. Simpson also appeared in the 1978 movie Capricorn 1, which is about faking a Mars landing. Do not let it slip by you. It is about faking a major event. The movie was based on theories the moon landing was a hoax. Audiences loved it, since after Watergate they liked any confirmation they were being lied to by the government.
Do you want to blow this whole thing wide open? God knows what it might do to everybody. This is really wonderful. We go along with you and lie our asses off in the world of truth and ideals is protected. But we don't want to take part in some giant ripoff of yours, and somehow or other we're managing to ruin the country. You're pretty good, Jim. I'll give you that. No. You're twisting my words. Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell the program short. Don't oversell it. Don't talk like that. What the hell's the matter with you? Please, Brew, don't talk like that. I don't think this is right. All the rest is bullshit. You have to help. What do you mean I have to? You have to help. What if I don't? Please. Your families. What about our families? Please, you have to help.
But there are curious things rarely mentioned about the movie. 1. NASA cooperated with the producers, lending them equipment. Why would they do that? We are told the movie was independent, but it was distributed by Warner Brothers and produced by ITC and Paul Lazarus. Keep reminding yourself that all these people are actors. You are watching a play. They were hired to fill a role, as in their other jobs. The CIA hires pros just like anyone else would. Before we move on, let me answer that question. Why did NASA cooperate with Capricorn 1? Damage control. The movie was conceived of and promoted by the government itself. They weren't confirming the moon landing was a hoax, of course. No, they were taking an idea which they knew was already in the head of the nation, and trying to turn it subtly away from its target. They were planting this idea in the heads of those watching the film. This is the go-to misdirection to this day, for all conspiracy theories. After 9/11, they used the same misdirection, leading most debunkings with the idea that with so many people involved and so many intangibles, secrecy could never be maintained. That's nonsense, of course, but it fools most people. Most people don't want to believe in faked events, so they are pretty easy to deflect with false reasoning like this. The truth is, secrecy isn't maintained. There are leaks, and many people know the truth. Others find out the truth. But that doesn't matter because total secrecy isn't necessary. All that is necessary is that the leaks aren't reported by the mainstream press. As long as the government and press stonewall and deny, the majority of people aren't going to move past a certain point. The CIA learned a long time ago that a small percentage of activists can be ignored because the masses won't follow them. Most people will follow the majority, no matter where it goes. That is why it is called a majority. Because of that, intelligence only needs to manufacture the majority opinion. In other words, the majority of people don't even need to believe something, they only need to be told that a majority believes it. That is enough to stop them from acting on their own beliefs or suspicions. The government doesn't poll the public to discover a majority opinion, at least not on important topics. The government just creates a majority opinion and publishes it. Most people then believe it, or at least, believe it is the majority opinion, simply because they saw it published. Even if they don't share the opinion, they believe they are in a minority, and therefore powerless. O.J. Simpson was also in the last 3 Naked Gun movies, including Naked Gun 33 and 1/3 The Final Insult. That title alone should have always seemed curious to you. We are told that the 33 and 1/3 is a reference to the speed of a vinyl LP, but I don't see the joke or the connection there. What does a vinyl LP have to do with anything in the movie or the title? The reference isn't to a vinyl LP, it is a reference to numerology, which intelligence loves for its own reasons. We have seen the number 33 coming up over and over in these faked events. And we find it coming up again in this one a bit later, when Simpson is finally sentenced to 33 years for assault and robbery in 2008.
A broken O.J. Simpson was sentenced to as much as 33 years in prison for a hotel armed robbery.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal anything from anybody, and I didn't know I was doing anything illegal.
In total, the jury slapped O.J. with $33.5 million in damages.
Perhaps the biggest pre-event red flag is Simpson's last movie before the alleged murders, Redman. Completed just a few months before the murders, and also produced by Warner Brothers. This was the pilot for an A-Team-type TV series featuring Navy SEALs. Simpson played the character of John Bulford Burke, and he was a major character, sort of like Mr. T was in the A-Team.
There's a chance that O.J. Simpson's biggest movie role will never see the light of day, except perhaps as a piece of evidence in open court. Now, Simpson plays the lead in Frogmen, a made-for-TV movie that promised to make him the next big action hero. Entertainment Tonight was there before O.J. Simpson's fortunes declined. And as you watch, keep in mind how O.J.'s life has dramatically changed.
Before we move on, let's look quickly at Simpson's character in Frogman. His name was John Burke, as I already mentioned. I encourage you to look up John Burke in the History Encyclopedia. He was a famous Confederate spy for General Lee during the Civil War. He later...
Yeah, we're trying to speed it up. We just don't want to get flagged, but yeah, I'm fluctuating the speed. Powerful information.
Became Adjutant General of Texas. Knowing what we now know, it is curious that they decided to name Simpson's character after a famous spy. The Frogman John Burke isn't a spy, he is a SEAL. So the connection is to Simpson himself, not to his character. Now let's look at the lead up to the trial. This is where we get some of our most obvious evidence this was all faked. A grand jury was called, but then dismissed 2 days later due to excessive media coverage. No lawyer would believe this, since this isn't how it works. A grand jury is called only to determine if there is enough evidence to go to trial. They don't have to make any judgments of guilt or innocence, so dismissing a grand jury due to media coverage is both illogical and unprecedented. Grand juries are normally slow in major murder cases, since they have to study a lot of evidence. They may sit for a month, 6 months, or even a year. It is clear the Simpson grand jury was dismissed, not for the reasons we are told, but because it was not moving quickly enough for the script and plot. The producers needed to get Simpson to trial court as soon as possible and turn on the cameras. In the Simpson case, Superior Court Judge Kathleen Kennedy Powell ruled after only 1 week that Simpson should be tried. Since she is just one person, that conflicts with the Magna Carta and all law since then. We will see that the entire Simpson event was staged, including all the trials and pre-trials. You should also remember, the Court TV came into prominence with the televised Menendez and Simpson trials. So it was a major player in these fake trials from the beginning. In 2008, Court TV was relaunched as True TV, so you should also look on all programming from True TV as compromise, including Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura. It would appear that Jesse is part of controlled opposition. Court TV was started by Time Warner and NBC. It is still owned by Time Warner. Time has been closely allied to the government and military intelligence from its beginnings in 1923. It was started by Henry Luce, a Yale skull and bones guy from an intelligence family. His father's front had been as a Presbyterian missionary in China, but he was really a spy. As of now, Court TV is back and broadcasting another George Floyd. Do fake trials count in the law books? I suppose they must, which means the Simpson trial was not only dangerous for itself, as piece of propaganda, it was dangerous as a legal precedent. This may have been one more premeditated plan by those behind the hoax. Beyond creating racial tension, diverting attention away from real news, and advertising for frogmen, it looks like this trial also served to help destroy the Constitution. All these fake trials set precedent just like real trials, but because they are presided over by Hollywood judges, all law and logic can be ignored. These manufactured judges can just insert whatever they like into future law books.
And from that, she told me about the abuse. She told me that he told the children that he did not love them. She told me that money that had been raised from a benefit, the fundraiser at the Laugh Factory, or I'm not sure if it was the Laugh Factory or somewhere else.
Conrad Robert Murray, guilty. Alleged victim, Michael Joseph Jackson. Alleged date of June 25th, 2009.
Alleged victim, Michael Joseph Jackson. Alleged date of June 25th.
This method is fairly brilliant, I have to admit, because it prevents any appeal. You can't appeal a grand jury decision, since it isn't a court decision. For the same reason, you can't appeal a judge's finding in a probable cause hearing like this, especially when the defendant is ultimately found not guilty. You can't appeal a not guilty verdict, or any part of it, for obvious reasons. The defendant isn't going to appeal it, because he got off, and the prosecution can't appeal, because that would be double jeopardy. Therefore, any ruling by a judge will stand, and can later be used as legal precedent. It is all sneaky in the extreme, especially when used in a fake trial. Now let's move ahead to the trial itself. We will start with the fact it was televised. Remember earlier where we were told the grand jury was dismissed due to excessive media coverage? Do you think the best way to solve that problem is by televising the trial proceedings? Don't we have a grand contradiction right there? Do you really think the best way to stop a media circus is to create an even bigger media circus? This one contradiction is enough to blow the entire event. As soon as the trial was televised, everyone should have immediately known it was fake. Therefore, anytime you see a trial for murder being broadcasted on TV, you should know it is California rules of court, photographing, recording, and broadcasting in court. Media coverage may be permitted on the written order of the judge as provided in this subdivision. The judge in his or her discretion may permit, refuse, limit, or terminate media coverage. Factors to be considered by the judge. Here it says, the privacy rights of all participants in the proceeding, including witnesses, jurors, and victims. The privacy and safety of the jurors was ignored.
That after all these months of being protected and sheltered, that we were going to be assaulted by the press. And it was terrifying. Leaving the courthouse, we're in two vans just tearing through Santa Monica with this long string of reporters behind us and helicopters. So the deputies pulled the vans into this underground parking lot to get us all into one van. And one of the jurors just ran off through this parking lot. They couldn't stop her. She went and got on a city bus. It seems like there were hundreds of reporters around this cyclone fence trying to get at us. And that night I went to hide out at my sister's house because around my apartment was just swarming with reporters. Because it was surreal and it got really weird real fast.
The website of the California courts tell us an experimental rule was adopted in 1984, but regardless of how these rules changes came about, broadcasting from court is a terrible idea. While we're on the jurors, here's another thing I find strange. Here's a list of the 12 final jurors, the lady in the clip who claims she was one of the jurors. Her name is Dina Lynn Mullen. Strangely, she gave a detailed description of being a juror, but was not listed as one of the final jurors. She claimed to be there until it was over. So that proves she wasn't one of the ones that was dismissed. They give us so many twists and turns they don't expect you to pick up on the inconsistencies. The entire court show was just that, a show. Anyone can see that intelligence wishes to broadcast court proceedings for one reason and one reason only, to better propagandize America. They decided it was the only thing that limited them in older trials. Although they were able to create a circus without TV cameras in the courtroom, it was thought an even brighter and louder circus could be created by broadcasting all the clowns and puppets in their full technicolor glory. In 1979, Ted Bundy's criminal trial was the first trial to be nationally televised. So the first trial shown on TV was a psyop. Ted Bundy was scripted, a government operation, but more on that another time. Then we get a choice of Marcia Clark as lead prosecutor. Let's see, Marcia Clark versus Johnny Cochran, Robert Shapiro, F. Lee Bailey, Alan Dershowitz, Robert Kardashian, Gerald Woolman, Robert Glacier, Carl Douglas, Barry Scheck, and Peter Neufeld. And you wonder why she didn't win. You realize Marcia Clark wasn't even the district attorney. She was the deputy DA. The deputy DA don't normally prosecute major felonies. If they lead a prosecution, it is normally for misdemeanors, so where was the DA? Did he have something more important to do? Bill Garcetti was the LA County DA from 1992 to 2000, so where was he in 1994? It is said that Garcetti oversaw the prosecution of the fallen football legend. I'll say maybe since Bill Garcetti bio includes producer and actor, my guess is he was one of the people consulting and producing the O.J. Simpson scripted trial. Clark is said to have compiled 19 consecutive murder convictions, but no evidence to back that up. As just one example, lawbrain.com tells us that she convicted a Christopher Johnson in 1991. I found nothing on that. That is the same year she is supposed to have convicted Robert John Bardo of murdering actress Rebecca Schaefer. Unfortunately, that conviction is also suspicious. It was achieved in a bench trial. That is, with no jury trial. That is next to impossible since a jury trial is required for all first-degree murder convictions. You should also know that Marcia Clark retired right after the Simpson verdict, being paid $4.2 million for a book contract. She then became a commentator for Entertainment Tonight. This is not the normal career path of a prosecutor.
Yeah, Marcia Clark thought. I mean, I was surprised to see the other day. She looks like a totally different person. This lady, I know what she did with that $4 million. It's all in her face.
I find these very curious facts about Marcia Clark. Clark's passion was drama. She studied ballet, took lead roles in high school plays, and later, as a student at the University of California, Los Angeles, briefly toured with a professional dance company. How many prosecuting attorneys do you know were professional dancers? How many are married twice by the time they are 25, once to a hustler and once to a Scientology executive? Scientology is a CIA front. Marcia Clark has CIA markers all over her. Remember, Tupac was also involved in the arts, and the number of red flags on him are staggering. I encourage you to check out the Tupac series. You can connect almost every celebrity death using that template. All these people are actors. Marcia Clark is said to have gained the convictions of 4 gang members in the of Michelle Ann Boyd and Brian Harris in 1985, but she didn't graduate from law school until 1979, and didn't become a prosecutor until 1981. We are supposed to believe that 4 years later she is leading the prosecution in a famous double. It doesn't work that way. In fact, the LA Times admitted that Harvey Giss was the prosecutor in the case. And if we study the case, we find more red flags popping up. Let's move on to the jury. The jury composition broke down as 9 black jurors, 1 Hispanic and 2 white. There were 10 women and 2 men. 9 black jurors. The jury was 83% female and 75% black. It was 83% non-white. It's strange that they didn't get a prosecution of a black man. Right. We are told they moved the venue to LA, with some fearing this would increase the number of non-whites in the jury pool. But 83% non-white, who thought this was a good way to get a conviction? If you were prosecuting a black man, would this be the jury you would seat? We have been told that the prosecutors, including Clark, thought that black women would lean to conviction, because they were women. What novel theory of human psychology was that based on? On the contrary, I would assume black women would have a soft spot for black men, and for an attractive black man most of all. The amount of racial tension pumped into the public, of course, most of those that share the same ethnicity, would stand up for each other.
100% not guilty. Who framed OJ? I don't know.
Yeah, I heard about it. OJ ain't gonna kill nobody. He's rich. The police found a bloody glove on OJ's property.
Sir, I'm not impressed, all right? What black man don't have some bloody gloves on his property? Man, that one right here. I don't mean I did anything.
Are you suggesting that because there may have been some minor oversights in the investigation that it completely lets OJ off the hook?
Exactamundo. The best rest, sir.
Mr. Chappelle.
No further questions.
Will you at least admit that OJ more than likely killed his wife?
Sir, my blackness will not permit me to make a statement.
Now let's look briefly at one of the defenders, Robert Kardashian. Red flags all over, not the least of which is the subsequent fame of his family for doing nothing. You should ask where these people came from, and why they are so famous. The answer: because they are promoted by intelligence. They are part of the current diversion. Robert was part of the diversion in 1994, since at the time he wasn't even a practicing attorney. From the published records. We can't figure out who Robert Kardashian really was, but Wikipedia admits he hadn't practiced law since the 1970s. In 1973 he co-founded Radio and Records, a music trade publication that competed with Billboard. I assume it was a CIA front. In 1979 Kardashian sold it, but we aren't told to whom. It ended up going to Westwood One in 1987, which was owned by Viacom, CBS. CBS has been run by intelligence almost from the beginning. From 1979 to 1994, Kardashian's history is a blank. All we can glean from the mainstream story is that he and OJ were friends, sometimes living together and often getting women. My guess is that Kardashian was Simpson's handler during the trial and probably during the years prior. In short, he was Simpson's brain. Due to his fame and his looks, Simpson was a very useful agent, but he was never known for his intelligence. Like many other famous personalities in the LA scene, Simpson needed a full-time handler.
Asshole! Asshole!
Our top story at 4 o'clock. Victims of a double 4 News has learned that investigators are examining new key evidence that links O.J. Simpson to the...
What about themselves? Also BS. As we did in all other events, we just have to study the photos. They were allegedly approximately 10 p.m. on the night of June 12th. Police just after midnight on June 13th. More research on Nicole pulls up more interesting facts. Did you know her father was the captain in the Air Force? Did you know he had Alzheimer's near the end, and died believing Nicole was still alive?
Right next to me is Ron Golden, a 23-year-old tennis pro. Give him a big hand for coming out. All right.
Mainstream press cares about accuracy in this event. This leads us to ask, what did Fred do for a living before he became rich from this event? What was he doing in Chicago before coming to LA? I suspect Navy. What was he doing in LA? I suspect military intelligence. Why has all information about these people been scrubbed? The LA Times reported that Fred left a job of 30 years in sales in 1996. Sales? That could mean anything or nothing. If he worked for a company, tell us what company. If he sold used books, tell us that. These dodges like sales are just more red flags. What's even more strange is Ron Goldman seems to hint toward something happening a year before his alleged murder.
Very glad that I was able to be here and spend this time with you, because God knows where I'll be in a year.
The next year the script unfolded and he was gone. This reminds me of someone most people don't know about. A guy by the name of Nelson Sullivan, in the 1980s. He filmed various events throughout that decade and is now regarded as a form of pre-internet vlogging. I believe they also faked his death. Listen to the last video he recorded.
They're running all the way out there to the end of the pier, but I don't feel like running today. It's July the 3rd, and it's the last day I'm going to have not to be running.
It's July the 3rd, and it's the last day I'm going to have not to be running.
After he states it's July 3rd, his last day, the very next day on July 4th, he allegedly died. He literally told us. But back to the
freeway past the 55 freeway. O.J. Simpson is believed to be in the white Bronco that you see in the center of your picture, followed by as many as 9.
Well, it's Steve from Illinois. Call it. Hey, listen to do. Think about everybody else, all right? On the freeway, I can do it in a field. I want to do it at a grave. I want to do it at my house. You're not going to do anything.
The slow-speed police chase was clearly staged, a live video. Notice the highway, the coolest I've ever saw on LA freeway. Sure, the police was stopping traffic for miles ahead, which is all the more reason they could have stopped OJ and his friend from going any further. In fact, I'd say O.J. Simpson was not inside the Bronco. It is said he was ducked down in the back while his friend drove, but we never saw O.J. step out of the Bronco. Why put the star of the show in danger by being in a fake chase on the highway? That's what stunt doubles are for.
Watching O.J. Simpson pull into his driveway. Al Callings, who was at the wheel, apparently is telling whoever came up there to get out of the way. O.J. Simpson is in the back of his vehicle. It has tinted windows. We're unable to see a clear picture of him.
Side of the vehicle.
Okay, someone just got out of the vehicle. At this point in time, from this vantage point, it was difficult to see or positively identify that individual.
But notice during the police chase there's people holding signs. How could anyone possibly make a sign that fast off breaking news? Clearly, those signs were made well in advance, making the entire event obviously staged.
People have pulled over, many of them carrying signs such as signs reading things like "Save the Juice," "Go OJ." People are literally cheering him on.
This was the best Ford commercial I have ever seen. Isn't it ironic that Ford canceled the Bronco in 1996, and 4 years later they released the Ford Escape?
How did you escape?
They also plan to release the new 2021 Bronco on O.J. Simpson's birthday. Ford has decided to move the Bronco reveal to July 13th after they realized. Yeah, right.
Introducing the return of a legend, the all-new Bronco two-door.
In the home of the movie industry, real-life drama is bigger business than any soap opera today. A village of satellite dishes and broadcast equipment has sprung up around the Los Angeles courthouse to beam the trial of actor and...
Now let's focus on acting. Although they were hired to play the roles, we still see their acting being terrible at times. From smiles to crying, it's all very clear in this day and age. They even gave clues in the media.
The O.J. Simpson murder case was the first true reality show.
A real-life soap opera with a cast of characters who became household names.
With a cast of characters.
A cast of characters played their part. Life changed forever, and the trial of the century now cemented in pop culture.
They're all just involved in this psychological operation. Let's take Ron Goldman's alleged girlfriend. Watch as she smiles while trying to act as if she's hurt by the loss. She scribbles with tears, fake emotions, no tears.
You know, 2056 years in my eyes. It's fucking timeless. It's gone. 2056 years in my life.
This O.J. Simpson interrogation is one of the most obvious signs of acting, and it's bad acting. Many times when you watch a bad performance, you will see the actor give a general reaction to a very specific set of circumstances. When this happens, it comes off as disingenuous. Watch as O.J. try conveying emotions of shock and nervousness. He does a horrible job.
But then this photo surfaced of Simpson wearing Bruno Mali's shoes 9 months before the murders took place. Look at his reaction when he's called back to give another deposition and is shown the photo.
That is a picture of you looking at Exhibit 1, correct? Appears to be, yes.
Not to forget Mark, our victim's advocate.
My family cried. We were so stunned. I mean, I at least thought that there was going to be a hung jury. I guess I just still had that hope of there being a hung jury, but I couldn't cry.
Because of racism, we should put aside all other thought, all other reason.
Nicole butchered Nicole's former lover, Keith Zlomsowicz.
I'm so believe
O.J. Simpson mocks the public, and while the masses think O.J. is simply taunting the idea that he got away with double murder, he's really making a joke out of what everyone believes. The joke's on you.
After we finished filming, OJ said to me that he had a surprise for me, and this is it.
The strategically thought-out script that gathered the emotions of the public. The joke's on you.
Did you do it?
No, I didn't. Nope. Did not do it.
These people are incredibly bold because they have no respect for your intelligence. I bet most top people in Hollywood know of things like the whole Simpson trial being fake. They know because all top actors go through a crisis. To be one of the A-listers, you must go to trial. You must go to a celebrity prison. You must look crazy, etc.
It makes no sense. It doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
In conclusion, we see that both. We also saw the creation of fake precedent in by judges, further eroding the legal system as a whole. We saw the creation of racial tension to keep blacks and whites looking suspiciously at one another instead. But the main end of this event was misdirection. There were things going on in 1994-95 that they wanted to keep your eyes off. They manufacture big events to keep your eyes off real history happening just beyond your line of sight. If they can keep you watching the circus for more than a year, you will have missed all of their real crimes during that time. While the world was watching Simpson drive around in a white truck and try on gloves, the real world passes by them, keeping everyone living in the Matrix. I started out by reminding you that Simpson was allegedly born in 1947, the year of the CIA. Even now, you probably think that is just a coincidence. It isn't. Since these events are scripted from the ground up, almost nothing in them is a coincidence. They can choose their actors as well as their birth dates, and they do these things to signal each other, play with numerology, and just to toy with your mind. I believe they actually changed his birth year in the records to match their numerology. It is now the super rich versus everyone else. You can believe the lies or you can understand that they feed us lies to keep power. No matter where you are living, you have been infiltrated. The answer is to fight back in more logical ways. Just as they are organized, you should organize. First, organize your thoughts. Learn how things really are. Take back your mind.
Back on the scene, crispy clean. You can try why, cause you can't intervene.
Wow, a powerful documentary. Think about it. It all makes sense. Wow, they just going back, you know, it just, you have to overturn everything we've ever been shown. Powerful commentary coming in. We should not be any white judges if we expect to return to the true kingdom. We have many dark-skinned forefathers, way more interesting. Yes, dark-skinned. Yeah, the Indians, let's get a tribal judge. We need tribal judges. They are natives to this land, and the true, forefathers of this land are native. None of them are white. Khloe Kardashian looks like interesting. Why would they give Khloe the make him a daughter? You know, is she a test tube baby? We wouldn't know, you know. But again, Kardashian, the father, is said to be a handler of OJ, the handler. That OJ wasn't ever very smart, but he needed a handler. So they have a handler. Let's bring in Kobe Bryant. What's up with the Kobe Bryant case? All the same crap, all the same sensationalism. Buffalo Bills, 50 miles away. Never took much interest until now. Yeah, again, the date, his birthday, was it changed? Did they have OJ since alter his birthday somewhere along the road, not necessarily at birth, but how he was fathered into a system. Powerful information, powerful content, how to free your mind. You better do it now. That's how they get away with everything. Calling it all out. Just educate and man, don't get triggered. Don't get freaking triggered with the propaganda that you see. Lots of deception out there, the flooding of the internet with lies. That's how they're controlling now. Just waiting to get censored on that. 8 seconds. You played the music of 8 seconds of something. Yes, a 12-second copyright infringement. Just waiting for that tag to. Let me get the screen rolling here. Again, they mentioned Alexa, powerful, yes. That he was in a movie called Alexa, and he was in a CIA movie style things, Frogmen. What was I trying to say? But how Alexa, that system, just so much sensationalism in that, it's just all the same stuff. All of it just falls to pieces once you put all the red flags together. Everything just falls to the wayside. All these propaganda events, and it's so important that everybody calls them out. But it was fascinating too. Also, the comparisons of how people believe things. Let me just play that again. It's a very powerful introduction. Why and how people fall for this garbage, why they're stuck on the garbage, why they eat the garbage, why they enjoy the garbage. Rolling.
No one can do the things you do to me. Never to be mistaken.
Los Angeles, Mark, it's the latest. Well, Bobby, aside from a few visits from friends today, it's been fairly quiet, and activity outside the Simpson household has been fairly minimal. He's been secluded here since Monday when he returned from an interrogation from the Los Angeles Police Department. Police will continue to investigate the of Simpson's ex-wife, Nicole Simpson, and her friend, 25-year-old Ronald Golden. Meanwhile, the wait and watch outside the Simpson household continues.
Mark, you've been following this story all day long. Would you say the police are any closer right now to having a suspect or suspects in this case?
I can tell you one thing. Although O.J. Simpson has not been arrested or charged with any wrongdoing, he does appear to be the main focus of this entire investigation.
For those that are not into reading, I will present you with the clues you may have missed regarding the O.J. Simpson. But if you feel the need to hold on to the mainstream story, feel free to keep it. I no longer have any use for it. Instead of looking at this event through the eyes of the controlled media, here we will be questioning it all. We will start at the very beginning. Orenthal James Simpson was born in 1947. What else was born in 1947? That's right, the CIA. This early in the investigation, you will no doubt dismiss that as a coincidence. Later, you won't. After his famous career as a football running back, Simpson went to Hollywood to become an actor. Who runs Hollywood? That's right, our old friend the CIA. In 1993, Simpson had a supporting role in a movie called CIA, codename Alexa.
Alexa, surname unknown. Specialize in combat. She's government property.
Sure, by now you know this is a government facility.
What I know is that you got that Rambo bitch here. So I want to see her, and I want to see her now.
Oh, you're not in any position to make demands, Detective.
Well, yes, so what are you going to do? Kill me?
That can be arranged.
Just another coincidence. Not really. And neither is the word Alexa. A web search on Alexa tells you the name means defender of man, or that the computer company Alexa founded in 1996 based the name on the Library of Alexandria. Both are misdirections. The right answer is that the CIA has long liked and used the name Alexa, and that the computer company of that name is a CIA front. Remember, the web was originally created by intelligence as a tool of intelligence, both to collect data and to disseminate it. Alexa is now used as the basis for web searches as well as for the Wayback Machine, which has stored terabytes of information. But the reason intelligence lacks the word is easy to see, if you write it like this. Lex means law in Latin, and intelligence sees itself as a law unto itself.
Alexa, do you work for the CIA?
No, I'm not employed by them. I'm made by Amazon.
Alexa, does the CIA get information from Amazon?
I'm not sure what you meant by that question.
Alexa, can the CIA get information from Amazon? Alexa, can the CIA get information from Amazon?
So once again, Lex means law in Latin, and intelligence sees itself as a law unto itself. It does whatever it wants, including faking and faking trials. Simpson also appeared in the 1978 movie Capricorn 1, which is about faking a Mars landing. Do not let it slip by you. It is about faking a major event. The movie was based on theories the moon landing was a hoax. Audiences loved it, since after Watergate they liked any confirmation they were being lied to by the government.
When you want to blow this whole thing wide open, God knows what it might do to everybody. This is really wonderful. We go along with you and lie our asses off in a world of truth and ideals is protected. But we don't want to take part in some giant ripoff of yours, and somehow or other we're managing to ruin the country. You're pretty good, Jim. I'll give you that.
You're twisting my words.
Don't sell yourself short.
Don't sell the program short.
Don't oversell it. Don't talk like that. What the hell's the matter with you? Please, Brew, don't talk like that. I don't think this is right. All the rest is bullshit.
You have to help.
What do you mean I have to?
You have to help.
What if I don't?
Please. Your families.
What about our families?
Please, you have to help.
But there are curious things rarely mentioned about the movie. 1. NASA cooperated with the producers, lending them equipment. Why would they do that? We are told the movie was independent, but it was distributed by Warner Brothers and produced by ITC and Paul Lazarus. Keep reminding yourself that all these people are actors. You are watching a play. They were hired to fill a role, as in their other jobs. The CIA hires pros just like anyone else would. Before we move on, let me answer that question. Why did NASA cooperate with Capricorn 1? Damage control. The movie was conceived of and promoted by the government itself. They weren't confirming the moon landing was a hoax, of course. No, they were taking an idea which they knew was already in the head of the nation, and trying to turn it subtly away from its target. They were planting this idea in the heads of those watching the film. This is the go-to misdirection to this day, for all conspiracy theories. After 9/11, they used the same misdirection, leading most debunkings with the idea that with so many people involved and so many intangibles, secrecy could never be maintained. That's nonsense, of course, but it fools most people. Most people don't want to believe in faked events, so they are pretty easy to deflect with false reasoning like this. The truth is, secrecy isn't maintained. There are leaks, and many people know the truth. Others find out the truth. But that doesn't matter because total secrecy isn't necessary. All that is necessary is that the leaks aren't recorded by the mainstream press. As long as the government and press stonewall and deny, the majority of people aren't going to move past a certain point. The CIA learned a long time ago that a small percentage of activists can be ignored because the masses won't follow them. Most people will follow the majority, no matter where it goes. That is why it is called the majority. Because of that, intelligence only needs to manufacture the majority opinion. In other words, the majority of people don't even need to believe something, they only need to be told that a majority believes it. That is enough to stop them from acting on their own beliefs or suspicions. The government doesn't poll the public to discover a majority opinion, at least not on important topics. The government just creates a majority opinion and publishes it. Most people then believe it, or at least, believe it is the majority opinion, simply because they saw it published. Even if they don't share the opinion, they believe they are in the minority, and therefore powerless. O.J. Simpson was also in the last 3 Naked Gun movies, including Naked Gun 33 and 1/3 The Final Insult. That title alone should have always seemed curious to you. We are told that the 33 and 1/3 is a reference to the speed of a vinyl LP, but I don't see the joke or the connection there. What does a vinyl LP have to do with anything in the movie or the title? The reference isn't to a vinyl LP, it is a reference to numerology, which intelligence loves for its own reasons. We have seen the number 33 coming up over and over in these faked events, and we find it coming up again in this one a bit later, when Simpson is finally sentenced to 33 years for assault and robbery in 2008.
A broken O.J. Simpson was sentenced to as much as 33 years in prison for a hotel armed robbery.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal anything from anybody, and I didn't know I was doing anything illegal.
In total, the jury slapped O.J. with $33.5 million in damages.
But perhaps the biggest pre-event red flag is Simpson's last movie before the alleged murders, Frogman. Completed just a few months before the murders, and also produced by Warner Brothers. This was the pilot for an A-Team-type TV series featuring Navy SEALs. Simpson played the character of John Bulford Burke, and he was a major character, sort of like Mr. T was in the A-Team.
There's a chance that O.J. Simpson's biggest movie role will never see the light of day, except perhaps as a piece of evidence in open court. Now, Simpson plays the lead in Frogman, a made-for-TV movie that promised to make him the next big action hero. Entertainment Tonight was there before O.J. Simpson's fortunes declined, and as you watch, keep in mind how O.J.'s life has dramatically changed.
Before we move on, let's look quickly at Simpson's character in Frogman. His name was John Burke, as I already mentioned. I encourage you to look up John Burke in the History Encyclopedia. He was a famous Confederate spy for General Lee during the Civil War. He later became Adjutant General of Texas. Knowing what we now know, it is curious that they decided to name Simpson's character after a famous spy. The Frogman John Burke isn't a spy, he is a SEAL. So the connection is to Simpson himself, not to his character. Now let's look at the lead up to the trial. This is where we get some of our most obvious evidence this was all faked. A grand jury was called, but then dismissed 2 days later due to excessive media coverage. No lawyer would believe this, since this isn't how it works. A grand jury is called only to determine if there is enough evidence to go to trial. They don't have to make any judgments of guilt or innocence, so dismissing a grand jury due to media coverage is both illogical and unprecedented. Grand juries are normally slow in major murder cases, since they have to study a lot of evidence. They may sit for a month, 6 months, or even a year. It is clear the Simpson grand jury was dismissed, not for the reasons we are told, but because it was not moving quickly enough for the script and plot. The producers needed to get Simpson to trial court as soon as possible and...
Okay, you heard that. Time it all out. Call in the grand jury, cancel the grand jury. Let's get the show on the road. Staged event, top to bottom, the Goldmans, all those tears, all those crocodile tears, all that. You've seen it all. So I'm going to put the link to the video and in the comments. You can watch it from there. Some questions. Somebody mentioned Nicole, Megyn Kelly. Yeah, strong similarities there. That's been called out. So is his wife dead? We'd have to say no, she's not dead. Where's that question at there, Angela? Yes, she wouldn't be dead. Just total acting, total mockery, total... and just so many elements here. The Kardashian, his lawyer, and so there's so much good information here about the Darden and Marsha, and this was just so much popcorn and so much licorice and sensationalism. No, we'd have to say likely not dead. There's no way. It's all just a script. No, everyone's playing a role. He's an asset. The Kardashian lawyer, he wasn't even active. There's a lot of information in here. How he was the handler of OJ, the handler, if you can understand that. That OJ needed
turn on the cameras.
A CIA handler, and they were using him. And Viacom and the Melendez murders, where the Melendez brothers shot the husband and wife, and then supposedly told their psychologist, and double murder. Melendez brothers, they supposedly shot the owner of Viacom. What's their engagement? Was that all staged? That's very powerful content to cover there. They're always censoring this stuff. They're always saying, "Oh, you violated. You had 8 seconds of Netflix content. They own all. They'll try to censor a whole video on 8 seconds. They'll try to censor a whole 2-hour show for 15 seconds of a song, and they can't get child porn off the internet. Everyone's being fooled. Wake up, people. Educate everyone to drop what they're doing, because we're about to ruin the image and the sounds that you're used to. Think about it. You got to drop what they're telling you, drop the nonsense, and it just all falls off, and they have no control over your mind anymore. And educate that this music they're putting out, the propaganda on the news, the politician bullshit, the Biden bullshit, the Trump bullshit. We've been bullshitted too long, and it's hell and high time right here, right now, to put the brakes on this. I mean, they're supposed to be going to drop the mask. I've heard the mask is coming down in George Floyd, similar. Thank you, Trish. Yes, yeah, it is mind blowing, and you have to rethink a lot of things, and it just really opens up and lets the air blow through, and it's like, wow. And when you look for the red flags, and you get out of the matrix, and you realize the power they have over people, and how most people will follow what they're being told, no matter what it is, as long as they think they're in the majority. Everything's being manipulated. Viewership, views of video, views of music, everything's being sensationalized. Oh, they like it. Oh, it has 11 million views. Oh, they have 1 million subscribers. Oh, and it's all everything's structured. Facebook is manipulating everything. They're manipulating view counts, how things are shared, what's viewed. They're crippling the growth of everybody. We're all us freedom fighters are like in a wheelchair on crutches, trying to navigate all their wackiness like whack-a-mole, showing who controls what gets shared, what gets seen, how fast you grow, how big your followership is, your viewer count, everything. So we don't get a lot of views here. We get 14. There was a time we were getting 1,500 for 2 months straight, up to 1,500 live viewers, 3 million views a month for 2 months straight, 3 million reach, 2 months straight. They shut it all down. They shut the whole thing down. They control everything. Facebook's rigged. Jorge, Geo Boyd. Geo Boyd. I call him Jorge. That's a good one. George Floyd, similar. Yes, of course. It's all black and white. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful when people come out of it, because it's so important. You can't do anything about it anyways. What does it matter? No, it matters, because they're crippling, they're traumatizing, and again, they're influencing minds of children, conditioning. It's very important. There's nothing worse than people following false propaganda. But it's a double-edged sword. You can use it to your advantage, which we're trying to do now. It's been a pleasure. Let me see if I can find this guy. I was listening to his commentary earlier. Let me put the link into here. It's just so hard to get good content, meaningful content, truthful content. It's always being censored, and then to find something that doesn't mix it up. They mix up a little truth, and then they'll fill you with bullshit. They'll say, "Oh, you're elected president. Oh, President Trump." These people are not presidents. They're actor Trump, actor Biden, actor Kamala, actor. Keep saying that about all these freaks. Talk about them for what they are. They're all freaking actors. Actor judges, actor social workers, actor. They're playing an act. Wow. That's really important. If we learned one thing today, let's learn that, to call out all these actors for what they are. Just a bunch of actors. The judges in these phony courts are just playing roles. I have nothing legitimate to do with what's best for children. On and on and on. Let me see if I can find this guy here.
Including witnesses.
Wow, but yeah, BitChute, Brighteon, great places to go. Yeah, it's just, we need direction. We need leadership, somebody to really take off the chains that they have everybody, chains on the mind, chains on our children, masks on our faces, lies going in our ears, lies going through our eyes, through what we see in our news feeds, through what we see in our Facebook feeds, the total corruption and manipulation of music, TV, news, to how important it is. Somebody says, "Oh, you can't do anything about it." No, it is important, and when everybody wakes up out of it, it's powerful, and we've seen a lot of that. But it takes years to accumulate. But let's listen to this guy. He's got a lot of introspect.
So y'all already know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? We finna have another talk. I believe this one damn near might be more important than the last one that I talked about. But in a sense, it all relates, because what we are experiencing right now in the time that we live in is really pinpointed toward my generation. You know, the young kids coming up, the teenagers coming up, the young kids in their 20s, you know, mid 20s, late 20s, up until about 30 years old. You see what I'm saying? This conversation is going to be mostly meant for y'all, you know, because I'm not including people that are above 30 years old, because people that are above 30. So if you were born in 90, you know, 1990 or before, you know, you grew up completely different than the kids today. Even me, you know what I'm saying? I'm 28. So even me and the 27-year-olds, you know, some of the 26-year-olds, maybe depending on if they had siblings and shit, we grew up completely different. We grew up in the woods, you know, at least I did. Y'all know I'm from Atlanta, you know, we in the South. So it's a lot of country shit here. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in the woods. I grew up playing, you know. I didn't get a cell phone until I was like 13 years old. You know what I'm saying? We grew up, you know, I don't have to completely explain everything, but we grew up completely different. You know, people that are like my age, you know, in the late 20s and shit, we grew up completely different. We actually had a childhood, you know, things that kids today don't have. I'm going to get to the reason why they don't have a childhood, you know, and the purpose behind everything. You know, people that are about my age right now, basically, you know, it's kind of like they started all of this, you know, all of this technology shit and new age shit with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, how all the apps and shit started to become popular, you know, Facebook, Twitter, all this good stuff on the internet. The internet started to explode, you know, with YouTube and all of that good stuff with basically my generation, you know, the generation that was a part of like MySpace and the early Facebook days. You know what I'm saying? We're like, you know, we're the generation where it kind of started with, you know, so obviously from that point on, things were going to get worse, which they are intended that way. And the reason they are is because of the author behind, you know, all of this technology and the way basically that the world is going right now, which is Satan. We already know that. Satan. Who's the devil? We already know who's behind all of this shit. Who's behind all of this artificial shit that's basically going on in the world. Because at the end of the day, to just put it quite frank, our generation is fucked up. And, you know, I actually, like I told someone in the comments, I told someone I actually had this plan because he left a comment talking about, you know, he said he didn't live in the 80s, he didn't live in the 70s and shit like that, but he knows for a fact that our generation is the most fucked up generation. Once again, excuse my language, I'm trying to stop cursing, you know, and he was right. He was completely right. He was completely right. And that's why I said we got to talk about this, because it's a reason why right now our generation is completely flipped upside down, you know, upside down. Everything that was good is now bad. Everything that was bad is now good. And
okay, he's saying his generation. It's everybody's life right now is flipped upside down. Everybody is being hit in the face, and you either wake up or you accept being hit in the face with the mask, with the lockdown, with the fear, with the trauma-based mind control, with all the inflation, housing, jobs. Everybody's caught in this being upside down.
Like I said, we know who the author is of that kind of confusion, that kind of, you know, just upside down world, you know, like how they said in Stranger Things, the upside down. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what we live in right now. Everything has been flipped. Everything has been flipped, and it's been pushed. It's being pushed on kids so this can create a new society. Because if you get kids to accept things that were never good, they were never supposed to be accepted in the first place. Now you create a new society. Now you create new society norms, you know, because now the kids are taking on what is being pushed on them, basically with technology, and basically how to just not give a fuck no more. Like, let's not even talk about technology and the way it's completely just uprooted our society. Let's talk about the fact that kids just don't give a fuck. People just don't give a fuck. And that was the point. You know, that's damn near the root of our society right now. They just don't give a fuck about anything, about another person. They don't give a fuck about friendship. They don't give a fuck about relationships. They don't give a fuck about their parents. They don't care about anything. It's all just self. Everything I know is me. Everything I do is me. Like, It's insane. It's insane. And the reason I could sit here and I can really talk about this shit is because, once again, I'm 28, so I've seen it. I saw it happen. It's literally still happening. It's happening to our generation. You know what I'm saying? You can see the shit. You can see it. You can see how much kids are being like indoctrinated to just completely not have a care about anything in the.
Okay, not having a care, mind control. The youth, he's 30, day and age, maybe 13, 15 when MySpace, Facebook came out. Again, so many influences of lies, deception, but it's a lot of the mind control of empathy. He's saying nobody cares. It's the empathy is the conditioning through what they view, what they consume, but also in the foods and the sodas and the drinks and these energy drinks and all the contaminants in the water, air, and food chains that are influencing the mind to be less empathetic. Also, the drugs that are put into communities, the MDMA, heavy. They say you lose parts of serotonin or whatever when you take MDMA, and you can never get it back. So there's any kind of drugs they've consumed takes away the empathy.
The fucking world, bro. You can see it. And honestly, I feel like we got to talk about this a lot more as well, because at the same time, younger kids, younger teens and shit, younger motherfuckers in their 20s and shit, they need to see it coming from a person like me or other people like me, other people like you, someone that basically looks like you, because they're not listening to anyone else. You see what I'm saying? Like, these kids, they're not listening to nobody else. They need to see it from somebody that looks like them and that is basically a part of what they are a part of, and are being tempted by those same forces. It's partly why I feel like I have the platform that I have, or God gave me, this anointing that he did is, I partly feel like it's because I'm relatable in a way, like I look like you, I look like something you can look at and be like, you know what, if he going through it and he's able to sit here and talk to me about this kind of shit, it must be true. There has to be something to it. Like, I'm not just talking out my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't lived 40, 50 years, but I've been blessed enough to be able to relay this message to you, or to be able to understand it and, speak it in a way that you might be able to see it as well. I literally had to stop the video because I was hot as hell in that hoodie. It's kind of cold outside and I just came from outside. But anyway, look, so continuing on, we were talking about who the author is behind all of this, behind basically the upside down world that we now live in, that we now inhabit, right? Which we know to be Satan, right? Satan has basically, he's basically ushered in that Antichrist spirit that is here upon earth, which is why things are the way that they are. Don't get it wrong. The reason our generation lacks, just care for anything, the reason we lack empathy, the reason we lack, just those natural like feelings of being a human is because of that spirit that is now here on the planet. The Antichrist spirit, the upside down spirit, the spirit that flips everything that was once good into something that is now bad. And it makes you accept that. The spirit is causing young kids to accept it, because once you get to the young minds, you now create a new society. You do know that's why they gear things toward kids. They're not gearing it toward kids to just put subliminal messages in innocent kids' heads, just to fuck them up and shit like that. Well, that's a part of the reason, it adds to the entire equation. But the bigger picture is to create new society norms. Now this is normal because it has been in this little kid's head since he was 7 years old. Now this little kid is 18. He doesn't give a fuck about life. He'll take a life. He doesn't care. He don't care about being with a girl, or any of that, or this little kid was once just a cool little guy or whatever. And then next thing you know, by 18, he saw so much that, he saw so much shit on TV that it caused him to question his sexuality. And then now he's experimenting with boys and doing all kind of shit. Who knows? Because when you're a kid, you just absorb. You're like a sponge. So anything can take your mind and make you do things that you wouldn't have done without being like, without having these subliminals planted into your head or blah, 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 without Satan basically trying to create this new society, bring in this new world order, basically, in a nutshell, but, that spirit, that Antichrist spirit is basically what is flipping this world upside down and what has done it. You see what I'm saying? It's literally caused evil to be rampant toward anything. There's no care. There's no care, bro. And I can sit here and talk about it because I'm at the age where I saw both sides. Like I said. Okay, upside down world. They pushed it in politics. It's always been upside down for 50, 80, 100 years. For forever. But let's just start like 50 years ago, 60 years ago, upside down.
it's all been upside down. It's been corrupt. It's been deceitful. It's been military-industrial complex ruling everything. But the only difference now is that they're slapping you in the face with it. They're beating you down with in the last year with that co-crack, and the Hillary, Podesta, Trump, all that hate that was stirred up. But it's all just been stirred up, and that's how they rule now. Because you can't blame the internet. The internet's very powerful. It wants to fix everything. If they gave us our share factor, if they gave us our viewer factor, we'd be able to explode. You'd see superstars of meaningful content, not superstars of Jake and Paul, not superstars of Joe Hogan. You'd see real meaningful game changers coming out of the internet, but they none have risen. Right? We don't have a Martin. We don't have a JFK leadership. But the internet wants all those things because it works on efficiency, and it's only as good as what you put into it. And there's more good than there is bad. And just that it's always been out, but they've pushed the envelope on everyone now with in your face psychological warfare with the co-crack and all the BS, and they've just shown you so many lies in your face and slapped you in the face with them. And we can say anything we want. We can say it's bad this day. The next day we'll say it's good. The next day we'll say maybe we'll think about it. Anything that they say, you consume it. And again, people will always usually go with the majority, no matter if the majority is fabricated.
I grew up like a normal kid should have grown up. And then I got to witness the way the kids grow up now. I have nephews. Got a nephew that's 20 years old. Got a niece that's 16. So I see it. I see the difference. Like, I see it. You know what I'm saying? And it's also at the same time why I feel like, I'm able to give these kind of messages and basically help people along their journey because I look like you. I'm not, you can see it from a person that's basically in the same situation that you're in. I'm a part of your generation. We're a part of this shit together. And if you can see someone like me that looks like you and I'm sitting here talking about it and explaining it to you, then maybe you'll accept it more than you would from someone else that basically doesn't know the ins and outs of this generation and how things work, how people are today, how much people just don't give a fuck. Motherfuckers are like, let's not even get into the violence and shit. Let's not even get into how much people are just killing other people with no problem on camera. On camera, though, on live and shit. That's nothing but Satan, bro. That's the devil controlling all of that shit. He wants you to see this trauma. He wants you to see this shit on camera. Because instantly what it does, it lowers your vibration. Instantly. Shit suits you down. Like, it throws you into like a dark fucking world on some shit. As soon as you see somebody get their fucking head shot off on camera, bro. Instantly. Why y'all think we see all these like police shootings and shit on camera? It's not so they can document this shit and really prove what's going on. No, so we can see it and get broken. Spirits become broken, become weakened off seeing this kind of shit and constantly seeing this kind of energy on the news and coming through, social media and shit. That's why little kids kill left and right. We're not even going to, we could do a whole video about the motherfuckers that's like killing and shit in Chicago and shit.
Yeah, you talk about kid killers. I don't know what he's talking about, maybe teenagers, young teenagers, but hey, it's all psychotropic, it's all induced, it's all poverty-based, whatever it comes from, trauma-based abuse. They're just not, they're groomed to kill, whatever, by drugs, by abuse, by families, by environments, whatever. Let me see here. What was I looking at? Cannot fix anything. Racism. Yeah. Racism isn't the problem. It's just it comes down to leadership. We got no people in position of racism is not as bad as people make it out to be. People want calm. People want to be just to live and let live. But racism wouldn't have any power if it wasn't given to law enforcement, if it wasn't promoted in law enforcement, if it wasn't allowed to run rampant in law enforcement. What value is racism when nobody's being brutalized, nobody's being murdered, nobody, those are the most heinous forms of racism, the ones that are terrorized, framed, beat up, brutalized, murdered, targeted by where they live. But it's giving the authorities that power over the public that, you want to talk about putting gas on a fire. or a match, and then look what happens. So they are the minority. The racism is a minority. It's the few, whatever, but it's not necessarily racism because everybody's being hammered by the lies. Everyone's being hammered by the deception. Everyone, I mean, you want to talk about racism? Let's talk about attackism, where they're attacking everybody. Everybody put the mask on. Everybody's in jeopardy. Everybody has trouble finding a job. Everybody's facing inflation. So let's warism. So not just, racism. That's just like a side note. It's not the biggest problem. Go to the biggest problem. It's not race. It's controlled by the few, the powerful, and an agenda. There's only one race. The word needs to stop being used. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that, Greg. Yeah, humanity. Stop using it, and then they all of a sudden they lose all their power. Very good insight. Yes, we always want to learn here. One blood. Yes, humanity. Moving forward. Yes, stop using that racist card. Like I'm trying to say this is a humanity war. They're coming after everybody. It's not one race being targeted. It's social classism, warism, hateism, destructionism. Let's get rid of that racist word. That's probably another great thing to learn for the day. You stop using that word racism and use povertyism, classism, bankism, financialism. Let's get a warist agenda. It's not a racist agenda. It's a warism. Wow, we really need to get those words out there. Thank you, Greg. Let's stop using very powerful discriminationism. Yes, very powerful to stop using that damn word, because we've seen the crowds nationwide come out and it supporting an end to police brutality and abuse. We've seen the crowds, and it's a minority black. They're 10% black and 90% all others that were marching. Huge crowds we've never seen before. So, don't use that word. You're only giving it power. We know it exists because usually racism they're not racist against one race. It's basically like that cop was saying that he's Mexican. He became racist just being around other people that were racist, and he became racist to his own people. And that's the psychological bleed over that happens. So I put the link. Let me see. I put the link into the rest of the video. Going to stop it there. Keep learning out there to educate. Drop the nonsense. Make people think. Get them off the cotton candy and the popcorn. And that's when you become free. I mean, as long as you're in their matrix and you're saying it's a Republican, it's Democrat, it's Hunter Biden, it's all these stupid the nonsense, and know what Facebook's doing, know how they're corrupting everything, and don't want a superstar game changer to come out. And that's why we don't have one. We don't have a superstar game changer that everyone's clamoring to and listening to. We don't have a leader of voice out of all the millions of people on the earth. We don't have a somebody to speak. Who's the black spokesperson? Louis Farrakhan. Who's the white spokesperson? Who's the Mexican? Who's the number one spokesperson per races? And I can't find him. Let me know if you know about him. We'll put them on, but we need leaders that really cut to the chase and call everything out for what it is. Thank you for watching CPS News Network.